Hello, Robs. We're back with The Making of a Vampire. Paracelsus, Rabbi Loew, Saint Germain, Dracula by Alexander Şendrea. He calls this facts, fiction, and legends. I'm way behind on my reading, but I've just been tired. I'm tired. Prince Vlad II became known soon after his second reign in 1456. A document preserved in the archives of Istanbul, Turkey, tells something peculiar about his fame at the Sultan's court, the Sublime Porte. In 1456, soon after Vlad's crowning as ruling prince of Wallachia, a Turkish ambassador was sent by Sultan Muhammad II to Targovist, the Wallachian capital at that time, with a state message. The day of the audience, Vlad was sitting on his throne, surrounded by his dignitaries. The ambassador entered solemning, but keeping the fez on his head. The ceremonial that ruled at the Wallachian court required that any commoner who appeared before the prince uncover his head. Therefore, the Wallachian marshal of ceremonies motioned to the interpreter, who respectfully whispered in the ambassador's ear that the first salam expected at that court was to take off the fez. The Turk arrogantly retorted that he would never uncover his head before a giaour. As it is known, the giaours were for the Muslims what the goyim are for the Jews, i.e. pagans. When Vlad heard the ambassador's reply, he turned pale, and a mist shrouded his eyes. He was not the man to accept such statements. He took the ambassador's insolence as an insult to the whole country. That was as it was customary in those times, and ordered to nail the fez on the Turk's head forever. Then Vlad dismissed the diplomatic mission. The document does not mention if the ambassador made the trip back to Istanbul on a litter or in a coffin. Instead, Sultan Muhammad's terrible anger is described at length, and a detail is perhaps of interest. The Sultan was so angry, the document says, that his own fez fell from his head and was lost among the pillows on which the Sultan was sitting. When his aide found and retrieved it, the fez was wet. This detail may show the reader the Sultan's real feeling in that particular moment. It was not quite anger, but rather fear. The nailing of the ambassador's fez was taken in turn as an insult to the Sublime Porte, and Sultan Muhammad II resolved to liquidate that impertinent Prince Vlad. To send an army against him was, however, ridiculous. Turkey was a big power, one of the biggest powers of that time in Europe, I think it means, whereas Wallachia was a gadfly. It was like if today the United States would send their army and navy against El Salvador. So the Sultan chose to annihilate Vlad by subterfuge. There was a fortress on the Danube, the river which was the border between Turkey and Wallachia. Maybe I'll look that up. Hold on. I'll stop sounding as ignorant as I am. It's actually Wallachia. At that time, I'm going to have to look up every one of these. Hold on. That is apparently Giorgio and was claimed by both Turkey and Wallachia. Am I saying it right, or did I already forget it? Wallachia? Let me check again. Wallachia. At that time, Giurgiu was occupied by the Turks, but the Romanians were just waiting to take it back. Sultan Muhammad II used the status of that fortress to lure Vlad. He sent the prince a message inviting him to come to Georgiou and discuss with Gamza Pasha, the Bey governor of Nicopolis, a fortress on the other bank of the Danube, some territorial problems related to the land surrounding Georgiou. Looks like what's his name? What's that player that used to play for the Red Wings? The Sultan sent a message to Gamza Pasha too and ordered him to surprise Vlad and capture him. The prince smelt the plot but assured the Sultan in earnest that he would go to Georgiou for discussion. He went indeed to Georgiou, but behind him, at a distance of half an hour, there was his army ready for attack. When Gamza opened the gates of Georgiou to receive Vlad, it was not only the prince and his suite who entered the fortress, but the Wallachian army as well. Gamza was caught together with his aide and the whole garrison. All were brought to, let's look up Targovist. Hold on. All were brought to Targovista and impaled in front of Vlad residence. The Vlad residence, I assume it means. For that special occasion, the prince ordered special steaks, higher than usual, as an homage for his highness Gamza Pasha, figure 7. Let's look at this dude. Gamza Pasha. There's figure 9. Oh, whoa, there's a feast, and they're all... Damn, Vlad wasn't playing. Hey, let's eat while these guys are dying on steaks. And I don't mean porterhouse. Lower left, a Romanian Jack Ketch in action. Lower right, Dracula at table. I'm Dracula. I'm eating steaks while you're being on the steaks. I already forgot how to say Tergovista. Tergovista. Is that how you say it? Let's go back. Listen with me. Tergovista. In order to punish the Turks, oh no, we've gone. There we go. In order to punish the Turks to the fullest, Vlad ordered his executioners to do a faulty job and let the Turks groan until they died in atrocious pains. Georgiou was then cleared of Turks and came back under Romanian dominion. Moreover, Vlad's army crossed the Danube and burned down all the Turkish strongholds and towns from Nicopolis to Zimnesia on the other bank of the river. Please don't bring up that name again. This occurred in the year of our Lord, 1461, 31 years before Columbus discovered America. Not long thereafter, Vlad wrote a letter to his cousin, Matthew Corvinus, a Romanian like him, and king of Hungary at that time, telling him how he cleared the Danube bank of Turks and how he beheaded between Nicopolis and Zimnesia 23,809 Turks. That's right, 23,809 Turks. This letter is still preserved in the Hungarian archives of Budapest. It is a proof of how Vlad carefully counted the heads of his fallen enemies. It does not say why Vlad retained so many heads, but we know today that he needed them for his collection, figure 8, which is now lost. Vlad and his heads. There it is, mummified head of a Turk. Without an heir from the lost collection of the Impaler, he had more than 10,000 heads at one time. They stank so horridly that his wife left the court in disgust. He then removed his collection to a remote barn and brought his wife home. Such a considerate husband. 23,809 heads at a time was not a joke. Yeah, that's no joke. We should note the Precision in counting the items, a remarkable feat indeed. No wonder. Vlad was a passionate mathematician, too. The collection was impressive, but the heads stank so horridly that the princess, Vlad's spouse, repeatedly asked to remove them from the premises. Vlad, however, always managed to postpone the removal, claiming various reasons. Eventually, the princess left the castle and seriously menaced with divorce. Vlad reluctantly removed the heads to a remote barn. After his death, the heads were stolen one after the other because many of them had golden rings in ears or noses. Some others had richly decorated fezzes. The remaining heads became completely rotten, and Vlad's successor got rid of them all. The manner in which Vlad II, Dracula, dealt with the Turks who were apprehended on Wallachian soil seems today to be very cruel. However, before condemning him, we should know the facts. The outrages perpetrated by Turks on Romanian soil were much more cruel. Hordes of 20 or 30 Bashi bazouks, irregular, ill-disciplined auxiliaries of the Ottoman army, used to cross the Danube at night when nobody could see them. At that fabulous time, there were no guard frontiers. Once on Wallachian soil, the Bashi bazouks captured a village and stole everything they could foul. Fowl, cattle, pigs, and mainly girls. Romanian peasant girls had, and perhaps have, a peculiar grace that made them most attractive. The girls were not only charming, they also used to wear ducat necklaces inherited from their grandmothers. Figure 9. This guy needs to do better with his... Well, I guess he's probably dead now, but... Let's see if I can find figure 9. There's figure 6. We're way off. Well, I'm way off. There they are. Very comely looking sketch. Romanian peasant girl with a necklace of golden ducats. The Bajabazouks used to catch hold of such girls, rape them, steal their necklaces, then kidnap and carry them across the Danube to the Balkans. Don't you think you'd wait to... I won't say the R word, but... Why would you carry it? Maybe that was the whole point. Psychological terror. Anyway. Such ducat necklaces were kept in the same family generation after generation and were a mark of ancestry. Today, such a necklace would be valued at several hundreds of thousands of dollars. As soon as the chief Bashabazouk entered a village at night together with his gadabouts, he first ordered a big fire to be set in the center of the plaza. Then he ordered the peasants to fetch pigs from their backyards or calves from their stables, and of course a barrel of wine or tuica from their caves. Maybe I should look up tuica. No, I'm just going to sound ignorant instead. The peasant women had to set a large table while their husbands cooked the animals. Then the girls were invited to the feast. Eventually, when the fire was quenched, the orgy started. Any woman or girl who refused to submit to the invaders was beheaded on the spot. At dawn, the Bashabazouks relieved the girls from their necklaces, put the most beautiful girls in the saddles, and took them to the other side of the Danube, into the dark of the Balkans. No one came back alive. Was it cruel if Vlad impaled the invaders when he captured them? Probably not. I mean, why wouldn't you just move away after like the first or second attack? But many such violent things happened to those remote times. In that remote country called Wallachia, and only a valiant, strong personality such as Vlad II, Dracula, could maintain the order by inflicting stern punishments upon all kinds of scoundrels. Vlad's inflexibility on such issues brought him many friends from among the righteous and many foes from among the wicked. Eventually he was killed by one of his foes in 1476. Prince Basaraba Leota, his rival and foe, came to Wallachia as head of the exceedingly big Turkish army to take over the country. 3 days and nights without a break, Vlad fought with his small army against the invader. The 4th day he was exhausted and fell asleep in a bower in Şendrea Tower, figure 10. Not these damn figures again. There's the girls. See if we can see that tower. It's crazy. I had a dream about a tower last night. Actually, a house. Robinson Jeffers' house. Whoa, that's a tower. The Chindia Tower, Vlad II Dracula, the Impaler, was killed here when his rival Basaraba Leota, no relation to Ray, surrounded him in 1476. The tower, part of the princely court at Tagovista, is now rebuilt and can be visited by tourists. So I was saying, in the dream, I was attempting to climb the tower, and parts of it were falling apart, which was crazy. All right, let's back to where we were, which was part of in Chindia Tower, figure 10, which was part of his princely residence at Tagrovist, with Basaraba Leota surrounded the tower with his soldiers. The fiery and righteous Prince Vlad fought like a lion for his life to no avail. Basaraba Leota became the ruling prince of Wallachia and ordered a national funeral for his predecessor. At this funeral occurred something incredible. The strange event narrated by my friend. Oh no, there he is. Look at that mustache. How do you get that to roll like that? Look at that. Of Bratislava, the wise thaumaturge, an event which laid low Prince Dracula and rose up Dracula the vampire. A black cat crossed the road before the funeral procession. Some supernatural force took hold. An evil spirit entered the body of the dead prince. And then, after a while, a vampire made its appearance in Transylvania, just across the mountains, Vlad's country of birth. This hearsay was disseminated by various channels to the west, and the late Prince Dracula the Impaler became Dracula the Vampire. Some readers may not believe the episode with the black cat, and I doubted it too when I first heard the story during my visit to Bratislava at the colloquy I had with the thaumaturge. I told him outspokenly that I doubted it. Can you affirm in all sincerity, he asked me, that this episode was a mere superstition? Of course, he went on, there is no physical or chemical rapport between the black cat and the corpse in the coffin. But in the case of Dracula, the fact is that the corpse in the coffin became a vampire, whether we like it or not, and the spirit which took over the corpse used the body for its own malevolent purposes. Was the cat the agent of this metamorphosis? Maybe yes, maybe not. I, for one, don't know. And nobody knows for sure how the facts of the uncanny come into play. It's ironic, too, because I saw a black cat about 2 weeks ago when I was driving home from work. And then I had weirdos looking in my window, so, woo! The black cat is an ominous sign, Bubba. In the portrait of Dorian Gray, Oscar Wilde describes a fact of the uncanny, which is at least as incredible as Dracula's metamorphosis. Young Dorian makes a vow under certain conditions, and then, behold, something weird changes the known laws of nature as the years pass by. Dorian remains young, and his portrait grows old. Can we say in all earnestness that Oscar Wilde's story, you spelled wild wrong, Bubba, was nothing more than fiction? Is it not true that age does not necessarily wither away the youthfulness of the soul? In my life, I met many a man whose soul remained young, although the body was old. If Dorian's portrait was a symbol of what some call soul, it is not true that the soul becomes ugly and fades away because of the sins of the flesh. It's kind of ironic, too, because I just found a copy of the picture of Dorian Gray on my mantle bookshelf. I'd forgotten about it. I don't know what I did with it, but I think I moved it. There is an obvious difference between a man who was a scoundrel all his life and one who lived an upright life. This difference becomes apparent in one's behavior and expression, in one's eyes and countenance, in something indiscernible that is called soul. As human beings, both the scoundrel and the valiant are alike. They have similar civic manners and the same appearance. Many times the scoundrel looks even better than the valiant. However, something hidden in their movements or deep in their eyes tells us that one is disloyal and the other trustworthy. What is this entity in our interlocutor which calls our attention on his traits and speaks to us in a mute language, warning us? Is it soul? Is it spirit? Is it a guardian angel? Or what? The fact is that some phenomena of life skirt the thin line between fiction and reality. The more they are beyond our rational inference, the more they perplex us with their inexplicable presence. Some other phenomena, although of different obscure nature, belong to the same world of the uncanny. How many times have phantom lights in the swamps tempted travelers from the safety of the dry path and lured them to death? I guess 6 times. Were these lights fiction? Some of those who were lured escaped in time, came home, and told their family what happened. Were they all wrong? In the green half-light of the old European forest, did not the wild dancing of young women caused the death of those who joined them and did not succeed to escape in time? Those who escaped and came home narrated what happened. Were they all dreamers? It is, however, true that such events are sometimes pure imagination, but not always. I don't know where the reality ceases in such cases and where the myth begins. This is why I don't discuss the validity or invalid validity of the events that happen in the world of the uncanny. I just narrate them. As concerning this account, I will tell the facts in their chronological order without bothering the reader with the many difficult problems of rational or mysterious nature I met during my research. I traveled across all these small and remote countries, Wallachia, Moldova, and Transylvania, Bohemia, Slovakia, and Hungary, looking for any possible trace left by Dracula. Some skeptics may ask me, what could you look for after 500 years? For reminiscences, I should answer. I was not an ordinary traveler. When I stopped in a small village, I never retired for the night without pursuing some local investigations. I looked around. In those places, if you look around, you can see or find amazing things, unexpected in the Western world. First of all, I looked for those elders who knew local stories of little or no circulation. Sometimes these good elders did not tell me stories only. One of them once introduced me to a peddler who led me to a house where I bought a genuine Biedermeier cupboard. Such a cupboard is valued in USA at several $1,000s. In Transylvania, I bought it for the equivalent of $5. Then I lost it. I left it somewhere on the border between Romania and Hungary when the customs house officer told me that such precious objects were prohibited by law from export. Another elder told me of a ruin on a hill. I went there and spent 4 days digging among old bricks and fallen walls. Eventually, I found a small coin entirely covered with a kind of reddish patina. I was sure it was a rusty modern coin lost among those ruins by some previous digger, but I put it in my pocket as a souvenir and almost forgot about it. When I got out and arrived in Hamburg, West Germany, I cleaned it. It was a gold coin of Roman origin. 22,000 German marks I received for it, i.e. about $10,000. That money helped me a lot with my travels and research on Dracula. One day again in Transylvania, an old little lady gave me a letter of recommendation to her nephew, who was the owner of an antique store in the city of Alba Iulia, the former capital of the country. In that store, I bought an old book, which later proved to be an incuna. How the hell do you say that? Incunabulum. It looked so miserable that nobody paid attention to it at the customs. The book is today the best asset of my library. What book is it, buddy? You got to at least tell. You gotta tell. I think I'm stopping there unless there's another break. I don't want to start a new section. No. I'm just gonna stop here, even though I want to know what the book is. Let's stop here, bruv. All right, goodbye.